Recently, I found this nifty tool called Primitive, which allows you to create polygon art from the terminal. So it would create a picture like this. This looks like it's using rectangles that are rotated. And it would create a picture like this from an actual real picture. So there's a little bit of text here about how it works. There's actually a native Mac application for this that you can buy. It's $10. If you're not comfortable on the command line, definitely buy this, support the developer here. But if you do want to use the command line, it's kind of a fun way to make polygon art here. So there are some command line usage instructions here that show all the different flags. I'll walk you through a few of those. In order to get primitive, so the name of the program is Primitive, and in order to get it up and running, we'll need to install it with Go. Go is a language that you can install with Homebrew. If you don't have Homebrew, I'll give some instructions on how to install Homebrew, but you can install Go with Homebrew, or probably several other ways. There's instructions here as well. I'll include a link for that. And then once you have Go, you can install Primitive, and I'll walk you through a couple different examples of using Primitive here. I won't go through everything, but I'll show you a few cool products or results of using Primitive. So let's take a look at a few of the original images that I have here. I just have a couple of my dog, and then one of Fenway Park, the beloved Fenway Park. So let's open up our terminal, and we will jump into primitives, and then we can see that we have our originals. And what we'll do is we will do primitive, and you can see I already did a command similar here. So we can start from this, and we will just go in here, and we'll go originals. My dog's name is Charlotte Barkley, so it's Barkley licking. This I is for the input, so -I, and then we pass the input file. -O is going to pass the output file, so we can choose a PNG, a .jpg, JPEG, or I think we can do GIF as well. Let's see, a couple of different outputs here, if we can find it. Right, there we go. So the output formats, so we can do PNG, JPEG, SVG, or a GIF. And a GIF will animate the output showing shapes being added. So something like this, where it's kind of progressively creating this image. And in order to do that, then you have to have ImageMagick installed on your computer. I didn't have that at first, and so it kind of gave me a complaint about this convert command. But once you get that installed, you can use GIF, SVG, JPEG, PNG. So for now, we're going to use PNG. We'll jump back to that command. So we're going to output it into this folder. And then this N is the number of shapes that we want to be in the picture. So we can see how that's going to affect the picture in just a minute here. The lower number of shapes, basically the lower quality it will be. It depends on what look you are going for. And then the M is the shape that you want to use. So there's a key in here. It shows that 2 is for rectangle, 1 is triangle, 3 ellipse, 4 circle, so on and so forth. And then 0 is going to be a combination of them all. So let's run this one with this picture, and it's going to output it into this directory with 300 shapes, and the shape is going to be rectangle here. So let's run this really quickly. And then we can jump into this primitives folder where I outputted it and take a look at this. And it doesn't quite do the orientation the way I wanted it to. But here you can see these rectangles that were created. This is apparently 300 rectangles. So let's try this with a lower quality or a lower number here. Let's just go down to 30 and see how that will affect it. Now if we close this out and then open it again, you can see it got a lot lower quality. Okay, so then we can do the same thing. Try this exact same thing with 3000. And now that that's done, we can jump over into our Finder and we'll take a look at this again. And you can see that the image quality is a lot higher. This is almost looking more like just the actual image, but a kind of pixelated version of the image. So this isn't really very, to me, it's not very artistic. But we will play around with a few other things. One thing worth noting is that as you increase the number here, the number of shapes that you're outputting with, it's going to be a lot slower. So doing this with 3000, I cut out the actual progress that it was making. It just does it in the background, but it actually took about a minute or two. So in this video, I'm cutting out those waiting periods that we have. But as you go up, if you go to maybe 10,000 or to 100,000, even if you're going to do that, it would take you a lot longer to produce these images. So let's try with another one. Let's go with primitive, and then the input is going to be, let's see what options we have. Let's go with this one, and then we'll output it to, let's do a JPEG this time. And this time we're going to have an N of 500. And then we can change the shape. And the shape this time, let's try with circles so we can see how that looks. So circles will be 4. We'll run that. And that took about 30, 45 seconds in real time. Let's take a look at the output of that. And here you can see kind of how these circles are coming into play. They're not all the same size. They're kind of all over the place. Let's see how that looks when we up this. Let's go again. Actually, this time let's go 5,000. We'll try that, just up it by tenfold. Okay, and that took about 5 minutes, give or take a few seconds. It did get my fan spinning on this computer. This is a MacBook Pro. So it is using some good processing power, but gives you kind of a cool output here. Now you can see this is more finely done. A lot more polygons, a lot more circles in this one because we specified 5,000. So, I mean, I would say it's roughly a minute on this computer. It's roughly a minute per 1,000 shapes that we're rendering here. But it's pretty cool here. This is for circles. Let's do maybe 1 or 2 more. This one, let's go with, we'll do Fenway Park here. And you could also specify the size of the file that you're outputting, but let's not worry about that right now. Let's go with N of 1,000, just as a good middle ground between high quality and hopefully not taking too long. And let's have an M of, I think this is going to be triangles here. Actually, that's going to be 1. So let's see what we get here with Fenway Park with 1,000 triangles. And that was pretty quick. I think it also depends on which shape you're using to see how fast it'll go. Maybe triangles are a little faster. So let's see what we have here with Fenway. Pretty cool art here. Kind of blends a lot of these things together. You can't really tell what is happening at a very fine level, but it's pretty nifty. If we compare this, I wonder if this is a person singing the national anthem here. Maybe it looks like a police officer, but you can kind of look at it side to side and see what things you can recognize. Can we see the Citgo sign in the other one? You kind of can. You can see some of the buildings in the background, but if we can toy around with how many shapes and what shapes we want in here. Let's do one last one so you can see what it's going to output when we do all shapes. So let's go with original, and let's do this close-up one. And then we'll output it as a JPEG as well. Let's just say this is close-up. If I can type there. Actually, let's just do a PNG just for fun, and we'll stay with our magic 1000. And then here, let's give it 0 so that it can do all shapes. Okay, so let's see what that one did. Let's see this close up. This one we got to rotate it a little bit. And you can see that there's a circle right here. It looks like there's a line. We've got some ellipses. If you look really closely, we can kind of see all these different shapes coming into play. We've got the rotated rectangle, probably triangles strewn about here, but it's kind of a cool, different look from the other two. If we look at the other two, here's the purely circles. This is the rectangles that looks kind of pixelated. And then in Fenway Park, here's the triangles. So you kind of get a different look depending on what shapes you're using and how many you're using of them. And you can toy with this and get the look that you're going for. It's kind of fun just to adjust these numbers and see what works best. Like I said, there are a bunch of different flags and options that you can pass to these. I think these are the most useful ones, the number of shapes, and then the specific shape that you want, or I guess here it's called the mode. If you want to get more advanced and more tricky, you can look into the code. You can make GIFs with several different copies of the image that you create. And you can really dive in and kind of make this what you want. The author of this repository, let's give him some credit, Fogleman, Michael Fogleman. He created a Twitter account where he just automatically posts pictures that come from, I think Flickr, or yeah, it looks like Flickr. Automatically posts pictures from Flickr, basically using random numbers of shapes and random modes that he has. So every half hour you can kind of see what is being created by some Twitter bot that he has running, and you can kind of get inspiration and see what this program can really do. So this is Primitive. That's how you use the different flags and options with Primitive. From here, go forward and just play with it and see what kind of images you can make from your images or images that you find. But hopefully that helps out, and play around with this, see what you can do, and we'll see you in the next video.